Welcome to another Two in a Blue interview, filming as always from the Energy Defenders studio. For any of your solar and roofing needs, call Energy Defenders. We are here with a very special guest, former local 1456 diver, former set instructor, former voice class instructor, otherwise known as Rise class instructor, former local 172 laborer, current public safety dive team guy, Rick Pullen. What's up, man?
I wear a lot of hats.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, dude.
No trouble.
Thank you so much for taking a ride and coming down and hanging out.
My pleasure.
Yeah. I took my first Rise class. You were the instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, I always remembered just being very engulfed in what you were saying. You have a good way of talking, like you go to them 3-hour classes after work in the middle of the week. You want, you're hoping the instructor just lets you go after an hour.
Yeah, let me out of here, please.
Yeah, but man, dude, you were captivating. I learned a lot from the class. I went on to Rise 2, went on to Rise Pro. Mm-hmm. Man, dude, just a wealth of knowledge. Obviously, with all these things you're doing, how's retirement?
Retirement is awesome. I highly recommend it.
And you say you keep your book active.
Oh, yeah. I pay my dues through the local. It's part of my retirement. When I get my check, they take out the dues money. Okay. So I'm still a member.
Now, can you still collect a pension and all that?
I'm collecting a pension annuity right now. I got all that stuff squared away.
But if duty called, you could just put that on hold and you could just get right back in.
Put my boots in hell and go back to work.
Yeah, like when they come up to $300 of pension credit.
Break my heart.
Yeah.
My son,
in another 5 years. Yeah.
My son's currently working. He's working for a company doing jack and bore company. I got him in a couple of years ago. So he's like, Dad, it's $200 a credit. Yeah, trying to lure me back in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say no.
You're
making it hard to retire.
It is. But I'm having too much fun.
Yeah, man, it looks like it. You seem really happy.
I'll tell you what, if I was any better, I'd feel guilty.
So, man, take me through this. How'd you get started? You started with local 1456 as a diver?
No, I started working, actually, I was working for a non-union company a million years ago, back in the 70s. And I got an opportunity to get into local 172. I was working for Sambo before it was a unionized company. And I got an opportunity talking to the guys and talking to the business agent to get in. So in like 78, I jumped into local 172 and just never looked back. Awesome. During the course of that time, I worked for I worked for mostly underground utility companies. I did a lot of, water, sewer, storm, all of that stuff. And then I got into a little bit of gas work for a while. Then I got into bridge work for a while. And when I was doing the bridge work, they had noticed that I was a diver and they asked me to do some inspection work for them. So I formed a little side company and I was doing some inspection work. And then I wound up eventually doing some construction jobs for them. So it's just the company I was working for as a 172 member asked me to do some diving as well. And Avalon Bridge and Stone Harbor Bridge, we did a lot of diving down there.
A hell of a ride, man.
Yeah, it was cool. A lot of fun. Awesome. A lot of fun.
Awesome. I worked a few times with some divers, and they had their wetsuits on, and it's like it's not what you think it is. It's not as convenient as it looks like on TV, where they just hop in with a skinny little suit on. It's like just miles of cable and pull. Yeah, it's wild.
They're nuts.
Yeah, they pee right in the suits.
You have to. It depends on the circumstances.
Yeah.
And when I did a long-term dive, I used to wear Depends. It was easy. That way it didn't mess up the suit.
Well, so they pump warm water in, right?
If you're wearing a hot water suit, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could pee yourself and it doesn't matter, really.
No, it'll flow out. Yeah.
That's cool.
There's two kinds of divers: those that pee in their suit and those that lie about it.
Yeah. Well, we all pee in the pool. I mean, come on. Everyone pees in the pool.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
So so you got into instructing, and then like you were doing that for like almost 30 years, right?
Well, I did some instruction work for the SET program. Mm-hmm. I was full time during one of my layoff periods, and then part time, throughout that. Joe Ziffel was a director, and he asked me to come in and teach pipe classes and concrete classes and stuff like that. And then I got the opportunity. I guess you could say I was being groomed to be a business agent in the Ocean County area, taking over for Casey Kalajewski. And Ray pulled me aside and asked me, he said, you knew about instruction. You were an instructor. I need you to do something. And they asked me to come and teach the voice class and all of that. I had taken the voice class in 98. And I guess by the sounds of things, I scored pretty high because I got, pretty good line of shit, I guess. So I went to work in the regional office teaching the voice class and eventually the RISE classes.
So I told you I was at the regional office today for a little bit. One of the things they wanted me to ask you about was they said there was some type of sword tactic you used to use.
I was asked to present a labor history / kind of voice class with a lot more labor history down at the National Labor College in D.C. And I have been many classes and sat there, like you said before, bored out of my mind, waiting for the teacher to dismiss us early. And I thought to myself, I have a lot of knowledge. I got to make this crazy enough that they'll like it. So I came charging out from behind a screen with a 4-foot-long spear in my hand and a sword in the other hand, and charged into the crowd talking about leadership skills and stuff. And needless to say, it got everybody's attention. And I was asked to do it a few more times. And then eventually it was a sword, it was a fly rod, it was whatever kind of prop I needed to get people to pay attention. So, and be involved and be part of the class rather than just some jackass standing up at the head of the class lecturing. That's the worst thing on the planet.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So that's all you used that for, was just to get the attention. It was just
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that I have your attention, let's
I used to
talk
come
some
in
shit.
there swinging a sword.
Yeah.
I stuck a sword through a chair one time, and they're all like,
Oh, is it a real sword?
Yeah. I have a 4-foot-long broadsword.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. One of the funny stories, I was asked to teach a class up in Vancouver, and of course I had to fly in, and I walked into the Vancouver airport with a gun case, and immediately the armed guards around the area said, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, I used my imagination a little bit, and I said, I'm here for an interview. I said, I'm looking for a job in this movie role, blah, blah, blah. I said, I have a putter, a fly rod, and a 4-foot broadsword." And the guard said, "I got to see this." So I opened it up, showed it to them, and they're like, "You weren't lying, were you?" I said, "No." I says, we're doing some kind of crazy medieval thing, and I had to bring my own sword. And they bought it.
Wow.
And they let me walk through the airport, and then I went on and taught my class. I taught a couple classes in Vancouver, a couple in Toronto. Got, pretty involved up there. It's a very active group up there.
That's cool.
Yeah, the Local 183, they're insane. They have thousands of members, and they really bid into organizing wholeheartedly. Jerry Verricchio was the organizing director up there, and we got along like cats and milk. It was great. We had a good time.
That's awesome. I wonder how hard it would be to get through the Vancouver airport now.
A little bit more difficult now, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
So, you talk about the history of the labor. I mean, do you want to talk about that at all? Because I don't think a lot of people that are, I mean, like the way you recall it and the way that you talk about it, I think is very, very interesting. I'd love to, do you want to talk about that at all?
Sure, no trouble. The biggest thing, like I'll quote, I don't know who it is I'm quoting, but those ignorant of history are doomed to repeat it. Mm-hmm. And the way we learn how to make ourselves stronger and organized in the future, which was our aim, was organizing / labor history class. A lot of the younger members coming in, especially the apprenticeship program, most of them have some kind of education through high school and some college, but nobody educates about the union leadership and the union movement from back in the day. So we made that a very strong part of the voice class and an even larger section of the RISE classes to really give the folks coming in an idea what it's like to be a union member, what it meant to folks back in the day, and the sacrifices that many members made physically, mentally, to get us where we are, and like you said, hopefully build on the future. So labor history to me, it's always, I'm a history guy to begin with, but labor history as a whole, and the way it interweaves with U.S. history is just insane. Labor's organizing and unions been around in Europe for a long, long time. America being a fresh country, they did union organizing a little bit differently. It was pretty interesting stuff.
Was it your class where you talked about like the coal miners that were were using monopoly money or something to pay the guys?
Well, in certain areas, depending on who you worked for and what mining company you worked for, they didn't pay you in dollars. They paid you in scrip. Pretty much like the military. This is your pay for the day. And of course, we have to deduct the money for tools and the money for this and the money for your housing. You look at a lot of coal and gold miners back in the day. The coal mine owner also owned the hotels and the restaurants and everything in town. So instead of laying out cash, they would lay out, company money, and you would take it to the store and trade it for your goods or trade it for your housing. And basically you were kind of trapped.
Is it called socialism? What's that? Is it kind of?
I imagine it's one of the tenets of socialism down the road.
Yeah. And then they were saved by the rednecks, right?
Yeah. Actually, people got tired of it. Because if you're working, say you're working in one city and you're working in one mine and you get paid in a script for that mine, you couldn't go to a different city and spend that script.
Yeah.
You were done. So it was kind of a big revolving door of cash.
And is it accurate that a group traveled with red handkerchiefs around their neck, and they were labeled the rednecks, and that's hence the term redneck? Is that for the coal miners? Am I totally off here?
I don't know if it was part of coal miners or not. I know gold miners did it at a certain point.
Maybe it was cool.
Yeah.
Confusing. Yeah. I learned about that today. I was trying to flex.
It's pretty wild. Yeah.
Unsuccessful. Yeah.
Hey, take a shot, man.
Yeah. So, your grandfather was an iron worker.
My grandfather was an iron worker. He retired. He built stuff all over the place. I have pictures of him in the 50s. There you go.
Is he up there?
All the way on the far right.
This is him right here?
Yep.
That's unbelievable.
I have pictures of him in the 50s building the Parkway bridges over the Raritan River. And then his last stint was he came inside to be a maintenance iron worker at Tom's River Chemical, Ciba-Geigy Corporation. Most of my relatives worked there. My dad was an instrument mechanic there and in a local there. My grandfather retired there as a maintenance iron worker.
You're so American. It's unbelievable.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's your grandfather? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We talked about this picture on a somewhat of a recent episode. I think we threw it up there, and then John Bohm actually told me that their grandfather was in that picture. Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah, we got to get him out here soon.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I come from that kind of family. My mom worked she was a dispatcher for a fuel company, and she was in some kind of secretary's union. I don't remember exactly what it was, but she wound up being a shop steward in her office. So, it goes with the territory.
Yeah.
I learned this stuff over the kitchen table, heard stories about it my whole life. My grandmother on my mom's side worked in the Drake's Cake Factory up in, I think, in Irvington or Union, wherever it was. And she was a union shop steward there as well. So
it's just
runs in the family.
Yeah. That's in your blood.
We're troublemakers through the years.
Yeah, hell yeah. So what are you doing now, man?
I am retired. I am fishing. I'm hunting. Currently helping. My son just bought a home, and we're in the process of rehabbing that, rebuilding that. White paint, as you can see. Redoing some stairs and stuff, getting him ready to move in.
Does he have a family, or is it just him?
Oh, yeah, no, he's married and has a 2-year-old son, my first grandson.
All right.
And another one on the way in March.
All right.
So
I'm busy.
I'm a happy grandfather.
Yeah, I guess you are.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I take my son and my daughters out fishing, and I'm going to take my grandson out fishing.
Yeah.
So life is good. Life is good.
It sounds like it.
Yep, we're moving forward.
How'd you do hunting this year?
Okay. It was kind of a crazy season because I was involved a lot with the dive team. I didn't get to do a lot of hunting there. And now I've been involved in, getting Connor's house squared away. So we're still at it.
Do you just hunt whitetail?
I hunt anything that eats, flies, or swims. That's it. If I can put it in a pot, I hunt it. But I only kill things that I eat. So, yeah, I like whitetail hunting. One of my dreams is to go out. I have a nephew that lived in Colorado, and he tried to get me involved out there on an elk hunt. That's one of my dreams.
Is that the kind of hunt where you got to go hiking?
No, the one we were aiming at was a horseback hunt, where you get on horseback and you ride up into the mountains, and the outfitter sets up a camp up there. Then you spend a week up there hunting on horseback.
So how do you how would you go about finding an elk? Do it like that.
Same way you find a deer, game trails, spoor, feed habits. Where's the water? Where's the food? Track them and find them.
That sounds like a hell of a way to kill an animal.
I can't wait.
Oh yeah,
I can't wait.
Or do you have plans to go?
Absolutely, yeah.
Is it set or are you?
No, it's a lottery system. You have to apply.
Okay.
And you have to apply to get enough points to be able to get a draw license.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't there anywhere else that it's a little more easy to get in? Now it's all pretty tough.
A lot of the western states now, a lot of the midwestern states, you have to draw a permit. A friend of mine just went to Iowa, killed a 320-pound whitetail, and he had to draw permits for, I think, 3 years before he got enough points to draw a license.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it is what it is.
I figured there'd be more more whitetail in Iowa than to have to
there's
enter a lottery
tons.
system.
There's tons. It's different from resident hunters to non-resident.
Okay.
Non-resident, you have to apply through this permit system. So it's not like New Jersey. Anybody can just go through a class, get your hunting license, and go hunt whitetail.
Yeah. Can you ride a horseback?
You bet I can.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've ridden horses.
Of course you can.
All over the country. Yeah. Well, my wife loves to ride horses, so every time we go on vacation, we manage to find someplace to ride horses.
Oh, cool.
Rode horses in Hawaii, rode horses in California, New York State, all over the place. It's a lot of fun.
Did you do any hunting when you were in Canada?
No, unfortunately, when we set up, I was doing these 10-day trainings for the RISE program. The International had a 10-day. In the Eastern region, we built this like a 7-8 day. And then the International expanded a little bit and asked us to come and set it up. So it was a couple of days to set the course up and then 10 days solid training, like a mini boot camp. I mean, they sent 40 or 50 applicants, either potential organizers or union leadership, to these classes to get up to speed on what was going on and how we were going about things. And you were there for 10 days, in and out, every day till midnight.
Yeah, tight
sometimes.
schedule.
Yeah,
there's no time for that.
And then it was a couple of days afterward to decompress and leave a moving, running campaign on the ground when we leave. So we were in a lot of spare time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I squeezed in a little fishing here and there, but it's kind of hard to carry a shotgun to Las Vegas.
Well, you had your 4-foot sword.
Yeah. It's a little difficult to chase a deer with a sword, brother.
So we have a little segment called Dumb Thing of the Week.
Cool.
So I always ask everyone, I you're retired, so maybe you haven't seen any dumb things this week, but in all the years and all the hats you've worn, what was like the dumbest thing you've seen?
Well, I live literally in the water. I have a 30-foot boat garage under my home. I live right on the shoreline. If I could cut a hole in the kitchen floor, I could fish in the kitchen. And right next to my home, there's a boat ramp. And the boat ramp is always a subject of wonderful, wonderful, hilarious things that happen. One of the funniest things I saw happen, a guy came into the marina with a 40-foot catamaran, like a pickle fork racing boat, with a couple of monster outboards on the back. And the guy backed the trailer in to haul it out with a little Jeep Wagoneer. So I was kind of giggling right off the bat, And they put this boat up on the trailer, and they were trying to nudge it up farther and farther on the trailer. So the guy got in the boat, and what did he do? He revved up the engines and put her in gear and slammed the boat right into the back of the Wagoneer and blew out the back window, blew out the sides of the truck. That was just, if I had a video camera, I could probably
It's a
be
shame,
wealthy
man.
right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, it's a shame you didn't get that.
That's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
So, what was like your favorite thing to do as a laborer, like work-wise?
Work-wise, well, like I said, I did a lot of underground utilities, water, sewer, storm, electric, telephone, gas main. Poured a lot of concrete, did a lot of bridge work. Probably my favorite part was putting a crew together, because no matter what job I went to, after a very short time, my business agent gave me the leeway to pick and choose a crew. And a lot of times he would send someone that was, I'd say, a little harder to put to work than other laborers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I would always, get things squared away. Probably pouring concrete, doing bridge work was my favorite. And taking a crew of folks and getting them up to speed and making a productive crew out of them it was just a ton of fun. I was one of those jackasses back in the day that taught everybody on my crew how to read the plans. And some older folks would tell me, "You're teaching people to take your work." I said, "No, I'm building a future." If I have folks on a job that can take over, if I have to leave for a minute to go do something else, then production doesn't stop. The company stays happy, the guys stay working, everybody's happy in the long run. But probably, bridge work, concrete stuff. Because you tear down a bridge and you get to rebuild a new one, and then you drive over your work. A lot of the underground utility work that I did, nobody will ever see it, ever.
Yeah.
But I drive my kids crazy because I go down 295 and I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, we know this is the bridge you built. We know." Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
I worked on down in like Swedesboro area. I worked on a like an overpass. I would call it a bridge. Down there by like the big Amazon building and stuff. And we got to set up some gnarly. What's it called when you build like a fort?
Oh, form work, you mean?
No, like you build like a fort under. It's like to stand on, so you could do work.
The false work. Yeah. Yep. The
And
form work. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a boat come in with a high rise, a man with a bucket, pick us up off the top of the bridge, take us down. I mean, it was until we were all set up. It was like one of the coolest jobs I've ever been on. We were fishing under there, ton of eel, ton of striper.
Nice.
Yeah, we didn't even know there was striper until we saw there was a company that came in, or there was a couple guys on a boat, and they were pulling in these stripers. We're like, "What the hell are you guys using?" And they told us what they were using. Sure enough, we started catching striper.
Oh yeah.
But with the eel under there, we're like,
Yeah.
I guess we actually had a couple guys were hunting geese. Right. I mean, like not even a quarter mile away from, probably 500, not even 500 feet.
Yeah.
And man, they were just shooting them right in front of them. The one goose they shot at, they hit it, didn't kill it, and it came over towards us. They came chasing after it with the boat.
Oh man.
And they're like, "Where'd it go?" And it was like hobbling up on the land, and we're like,
"There it is. Have at it, baby."
Boom! It killed. Then the dude walked through the water, picked it up, broke its neck, threw it on the boat.
There you go. That's dinner, baby.
Holy shit!
There you go.
It was wild. I actually have a video of it.
Yeah,
we can
that's
put it
funny.
up. We can put it up though.
Oh shit.
I did one job. I was working for Anselmi and DeStefano. We took out the Beaver Dam Bridge. Demolished it, took it all out, and then put formwork up. We drove some steel sheets around it and got it set up. Did a tremie poured concrete underwater, which was one of my favorite things to do. And then we pumped it down so we could begin to build the parapet and the footings for the new bridge. And when we pumped the water down, had a huge 6-inch diesel pump, sucked it right down clean, and all the fish and the eels and bait are all over the concrete tremie that we poured. The guys were scooping them up like candy down there. This is bass bait. Wow. It was cool.
It is fun to do that. I've been on a couple jobs where we were repairing the the base of the bridge. So we would have to form up, on either side of the base, and then, they would bring the cement in, and that's always fun.
Yeah.
I was on a job one time. They they wanted us to fill underneath of a bridge deck with stone, like river rock. And the way we did it was we got two boats, and we connected them with plywood. And then the excavator from up top would just keep loading us up with to maximum capacity. We'd have to go we'd have to bring it down, shovel it off the boat. One guy with waders, kind of just using his body as a human measuring device.
Oh, yeah.
And he would just walk it
To
and say,
set the
we
grade,
need more
yeah.
here, we need more here, we need, and then,
Yep.
like that, and that was, it's fun work though.
Yeah,
That's some of the fun stuff.
When pouring concrete underwater, we use a tremie pole, just a pole with a flat board on the bottom to sort of try and level out where the concrete is.
Yeah.
So it's halfway flat. When you pump it down, you can build forms on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the circumstances there, poured one and actually had a diver on the bottom. And the diver was actually in the concrete, it was crazy. It was crazy stuff.
Wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Going back to just putting a crew together, like I'm a traffic control coordinator. It's it's my niche, and
That's
kinda,
fine.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their thing.
It just works.
Yep. Yep.
It just works. I'm good at it, and
Yep.
that's what I do. But yeah, one of the best parts about it is putting just kind of figuring out what guys are doing what. Because as a traffic control coordinator, I don't pick the guys. They're
Right.
just kind of just here you go.
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
But I get to tell them you do this, you do that. The old guy who don't do nothing and kind of you drive
No,
the truck,
that's
you
not
drive the
right.
truck, you
That's-
drive the truck.
The old guy works hard, man.
Well, some of them do. Some of them do. I'm sure you would.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just figuring out who could drive and
Sure.
who's good with who could do this, who could
Yep.
do that.
Yep.
It's that's one of the more enjoyable things for me
And
too.
the cool part is to encourage folks to grow a little bit,
Yeah.
folks that never built forms, okay, well, this is how you do it. And away we went. My grandfather taught me, my great-grandfather taught me a lesson a long time ago. He was kind of a handyman, cabinet maker kind of guy and could build anything, anytime, anywhere. And he said, you got the hardest job, the nastiest, dirtiest, hardest job. Pick the laziest man on a crew to do it. And I looked at him, I said, are you nuts? He said, nope, he'll find the easiest way to get the job done.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah.
And it worked. I've had, like I said, I've worked with some spectacular members, 172, 472, 825. I work with a lot of different locals and a lot of different people. And putting that crew together and getting things just right. I worked one job out in Quaker Bridge. We built a huge site for pad sites for buildings, and I had 5 pipe crews working at one time. I was kind of like the general foreman on a job / super, and I had 5 different crews working, and I had 2 loaders supplying them with pipe and materials and concrete and block and all of that. And just orchestrating that every day, that was the most fun. It was challenging. That's a job where I met Johnny Bohm.
Oh.
And he was a nighttime grade foreman, and he was like, what are you still doing here at 10 o'clock at night? I was like, hey, number one, I get paid to be here. Number two, I know what things look like when I get there in the morning, so I know where to put my crews and what needs to be done. Prep work,
I agree. That is probably the most fun thing to do is just coordinate. Like that. It's very fun. I mean, I was on a state job this year, and I was able to coordinate with. I had 4 subcontractors working for us, and I was kind of tasked with making sure they don't run over each other. You know what I mean? And it's fun. It's fun talking to all the different guys and figuring out what do you got to do. Hey, in 2 weeks, you guys are gonna be here, and these guys are gonna be here at the same time. Let's figure something out. Let's get you off course here a little bit. Yeah, that is that is fun.
Yep.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of
to me it was a challenge.
it is.
I mean, I don't mean to demean it, but you put RCP in the ground for storm drain, and you put one right after the other, and after a while it gets very boring.
Yeah.
And then you turn on a catch basin or a manhole and say, okay, here we go in another direction. And it's a challenge, but it's nowhere near a challenge of running work. That was a lot more fun for me.
Yeah, I agree. I always liked running services. I ran gas services for a while. And I always thought that was fun for some reason. I don't know why.
I put gas services all over Atlantic City
Yeah.
and Brigantine. It was a challenging job.
Was it the PVC at the time, or was it?
Oh
the,
no,
it was the.
no, it was all threaded steel back in
Yeah,
the day. Yeah.
yeah.
Some welding done. You know, a lot of threaded stuff. We actually in Brigantine we ran the stuff right underneath of the house, all low pressure stuff. It's a different animal now. Everything's plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they keep changing it. As
Yep.
soon as they're done, they just all right. Well,
Yep.
to get the yellow stuff out, put the
Yeah.
orange stuff in.
Well, it's, when
Yeah.
we first got involved, I was doing threaded steel gas services in Atlantic City, and I worked with a guy who did gas every day, and it brought out this machine, and I was like, Joe Ziffel come to me and said, "You know how to use a fusing machine?" I said, "Sure." I never saw one before in my life, but I wasn't about to tell him that, you know. So I jumped in there. We looked at the fusing machine, read the instructions, talked to the guy who used it all the time, and here we are fusing plastic pipe together. You know, now they don't even use those, from what I understand.
It's pretty efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was doing it, yeah, I think we were fusing. I mean, we had like saddles that they would fuse.
Yeah.
And then you could just run this.
Yep. Yep.
It's pretty efficient stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
working in Atlantic City underground, that much underground, you must have found some cool shit.
Oh man, I work with a very eclectic group of brothers, and we had a lot of fun digging across Atlantic City, across the boulevard, trying to find a gas main to tap into. And there's a water main, and there's another steel line, and there's two more steel lines, and what the heck are they? Old steam lines, because Atlantic City used to heat everything by steam back in the day. And they're like, "Oh, don't tap into that one." I says, "You sure this is a gas main?" He said, "Just shut up and weld." Okay. But it was fun.
That's really cool. What year was that?
Oh, geez, that was in the early 80s, in 80, 81, 82, right around there.
That's a cool time to be in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
What was up? Was there any casinos up at that point?
The resorts was there. We ran gas services for a lot of them back in the day, because the one had, I think, 3 or 4 8-inch gas services.
Was the expressway there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. When did that come in?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I used it a lot.
Yeah, me too. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But I worked with this old cat named Russell Carafa, man. He was sharp as a tack. And he and I would get together and sort of make a plan, and the foreman would tell us what we were going to do today, and we'd do what we had to do anyway,
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Russell's a great man.
I hear a lot of good stories from Atlantic City, from a lot of workers. Yeah. I know all my experiences there has been like just jackhammering through like just a million layers of asphalt and concrete to get to solid ground, and then you get some cool bottles. You always get some.
Yeah, I worked on a job up in Red Bank. It was putting a water main into the side of a hill that was going to be a proposed development, and we were running water. We had to tap into a wooden water main, actually, and then run the water main up that hill. And we started digging across this one road, and every single bucket of the excavator was mostly bottles and ash and trash. Found out that was the old dump site in town.
Wow.
We actually had to have officers come and keep the crowds away from the spoils pile, because as soon as we put a bucket of spoils on a pile, people would come running and digging for bottles and grabbing bottles out. It was crazy.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was insane.
Where'd you say this was?
That was in Red Bank, right in downtown Red Bank.
And they were putting so that wasn't industrial. I mean, there wasn't like roads and stuff on that stuff. Is that like the fill? That was cool. They were cool with all that?
It was right in the middle of a street.
No kidding.
Yeah, we ran a water main in the middle of Main Street. We ran a water main from the wooden main up and into that hill. And we were digging in the middle of the road and finding trash. It was crazy. Back in the day, it must have been the dump site in town. They just pushed it over the edge of the hill. Yeah.
That's wild.
It was something else.
I'm surprised they didn't make you like put better fill in. They didn't care.
Oh, we did.
Oh,
yeah,
you did,
yeah, we had to put sand back in. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Sand and stone, like always. Take out what's there, put good stuff back in. Mm-hmm. But Atlantic City was interesting. We dug up a lot of weird stuff. We did a water bypass job. We had to put a water main around, and I was working with a fella. He was the lead man, and I was the tail man. And we started excavating, tied into the existing water main. It was a big loop that tied back into the water main. And the ground smelled horrendous. And the stuff coming out of the ground was yellow and green and orange. And after a little while, the Bobby, this lead man, started getting sick. He started throwing up. I had those big, stupid yellow slush boots on. And we climbed up out of the hole. And I said, this isn't good. There's something wrong here. Well, we found out that eventually down the road, it was what they call Price's Pit. It was a landfill. We were putting water main in because the groundwater was so contaminated. And it was all kind of nasty crap. They never told us exactly what it was, but I know it was enough to make you sick and turn your boots green.
Wow.
It wasn't good stuff. Yeah.
And they never told you what it was?
Nope.
I wonder if they ever is there any did you guys ever have any discussions about what you thought it might be? Or?
Everybody knew about it.
Yeah.
All the older folks in town knew that it was, an old dump site for chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was all hearsay. I'll put it that way.
I wonder what kind of what chemicals it could have been.
I was told some of the stuff we had on our boots was dry cleaning chemicals.
Mm.
But, I'm not a scientist. I couldn't tell you what it was. All I know is it was bad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found some interesting stuff underground.
Yeah. There's what's the most interesting thing?
Probably working on a job up in Bricktown. We were excavating along the edge of a roadway to expand a road wider and putting in storm drain. And we had this monster sign in front of a commercial strip mall. We had to take the sign down because the storm drain went right through it. And it had probably a block of concrete the size of this table as the base with two steel beams coming up with the sign mounted on the beams. Mm-hmm. And we tore it down. The excavator operator grabbed a hold of it and just tipped it over. We started jackhammering, busted the concrete up. And one of the kids on my crew said, "Hey, there's a hole over here." So we walked over and shined a flashlight down, and there was a hole, all right. It was about 12 feet deep. And back in the day, we were not too smart about confined space. Mm-hmm. So he jumped right down in there to see what it was. And I'm like, get the hell out of the hole.
Yeah.
We don't even know what it is. And it was some kind of chamber. It was about 12 feet deep and 12 feet across and about 25 feet long. And still to this day, there was no holes in it. There was no way in or out except for that hole.
Was it a structure in there?
It was concrete. It was a concrete chamber. Yeah, it was made out of concrete. And it was in the parking lot of this strip mall. And the sign was built right over top of it.
Wow.
We never did find out what it was.
Did you go down?
No, I didn't go down it. No.
Oh, man.
There wasn't no way I'm going down in that sucker.
Oh, man.
Who could be bodies in there? Could be raw sewage. Could be chemicals. Who knows?
Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah, I'm not going in that thing. No way.
That's wild.
Yeah, but this kid, he jumped right. What's in here? He jumped right in. I was like, couldn't even stop him. Oh, I had to drag him out of the hole later on.
Oh, man.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's wild.
And luckily, he didn't die, so.
Yeah, he just left it there, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we just dug a hole through the center of it, filled it with stone, and kept on going.
So the access hole, that didn't create any kind of...
We never found the access hole. All we found was the hole that was underneath at the base of the sign.
Okay.
Yeah, we just filled it with stone and kept going. Yep.
That's crazy.
Inspector didn't even want to look at it. He said, "I didn't see it. It wasn't there."
Yeah, that's a big thing to take care of that. He's like,
well, and I made a remark to the job super. I was fairly good terms with him. I said, we're using an awful lot of stone over here filling this hole in, and I imagine he set up an extra work order for it and got paid for it. Because there was a lot more stone than we would normally use.
Yeah, I imagine.
But it was pretty wild.
It's probably ate up a lot of stone.
Yep, it's pretty wild.
That's cool, man. So, what else? What else do you like to do?
I've been scuba diving for over 50 years.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. The public safety dive team. What is that?
Berkeley Underwater Search and Rescue. It's a team formed back in the 70s, 76, by a few local firefighters who saw the need. We live on the Barnegat Bay, which is mile to 2.5 to 3 miles wide, 29 miles long. And it's Recreation Central, and they saw a need for a water rescue team, so they put it together, and I joined the team in '83, I think, because I was doing a little construction diving at the time. And the guy who was running the team said, hey, you need to come over and work with us. He was actually a union iron worker. And we became pretty good friends. And he said, you need to come over here and help us with some of your expertise. So I joined the dive team. And we started out, I think there was 6 or 7 members when they started it. By the time I joined it, there was a dozen. And then we built it up to the point, eventually I became the vice president, the president, then a lieutenant, then a chief diver, and I ran the team for about 15 years. And then all kind of anything not recreational, rescue work, salvage work.
Like what?
Like salvaging boats that sunk at the dock, or a boat like you might see on the guys now, the towboat, series. They rescue a boat from the bottom that sunk at a dock. Well, we were doing that back in the 80s. And we're involved in a safety standby for boat races. We recently got involved in a seagrass survey where we went and pulled up a plot of seagrass from the bottom of the Barnegat Bay so they could examine the flora and the fauna, see what lived there, see what was breeding there. We got involved in a study that was aimed to lessen the jellyfish population, which was the scourge of the lagoons, where the oxygen level is a little bit low in a man-made lagoon. Jellyfish were breeding pretty popular and getting pretty thick to the point where you couldn't swim in a lagoon.
What would attract jellyfish to that?
A lower oxygen level and fairly still water.
What do they consume?
Other jellyfish and little teeny tiny fish and stuff like that, whatever they can get a hold of with their tentacles.
So the ecosystem supported all those jellyfish?
Yeah, because particularly where they like to breed and live, there's not a whole lot of fish because of the lack of oxygen in the water. So we got involved through a grant program to go ahead and clean these jellyfish off where they breed, which is basically anything plastic. The typical, from what we were told by we work with a college professor who is Mr. Jellyfish. And he's been all over the world, specializes in what it is. And we were told that they like to breed an average jet ski dock that you leave in the water year round. There could be over 1 million polyps, which could be up to 4 million jellyfish.
Holy shit.
Yeah, because they breed a certain type of jellyfish breeds in a link in a chain. And the longer you leave it, the longer the chain gets until they start breaking off and form an actual jellyfish. And these polyps stick to anything plastic more than they would wood or concrete. So we established a process to scrub these jellyfish polyps off the plastic bulkheads and off the jet ski docks to limit the amount of growth so people could then in turn use their water and their toys.
Did you get rid of some of the jellyfish, or you just stop the growth?
Well,
and that in turn...
You stop the chain of growth, yeah. By getting the polyps off the plastic, they're free-floating. Some are consumed, some just die naturally. I'm not really sure the science of that. We were just told to get them off the plastic. So we developed a process where we scrubbed the bulkhead to remove the polyps and jet skis. And if you ever pulled a jet ski dock out of the water, it's been in the water for 4 or 5 years, it's remarkable the amount of stuff growing on the bottom of it.
That's so invasive. I didn't know. I
It
never
is.
thought of jellyfish as an invasive species.
Big time.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, they were originally called a sea nettle jellyfish, and then they established, this professor actually established that the bay nettle was a whole different species. So he actually named the species, and we developed a process and got a grant through the dive team, through this college to help eliminate that process.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Are they dangerous jellyfish? Like, was that
These are
specific
like
ones?
bee sting jellyfish. They're not the ones that kill you or any of that. We got
Bee
stuff.
sting's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not. It's
Not pleasant.
It's especially wonderful.
All your
when,
kids on there. Yeah.
especially wonderful when you come up out of the water and there's one in your face. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I guess so.
But the dive team has been involved in a lot of different things. Like I said, boat race safety standby stuff, salvage stuff, search and recovery, evidence recovery. We have 14 crime scene divers on the
Wow.
team. And I actually got certified as a crime scene diver instructor. So I teach scuba, I teach crime scene involvement and how to recover evidence, bodies, whatever it might be, and then bring them to the surface so that, law enforcement can then, proceed with the case.
Wow. Can you talk about anything cool you found doing that?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
None of that's any sealed records. Guns,
Yeah.
knives, swords, bombs, machetes, all kinds of
Holy
crazy
shit.
stuff.
Bombs?
Yeah, yeah. We went through a bomb training course where you do a survey on a hull, on a ship's hull, to find anything that's attached to the ship's hull. And it could be a package of drugs, a package of bombs, it could be anything whatsoever. There's some folks were building a pod that they could attach to the bottom of a ship where refugees could hide in it. It's crazy stuff.
How big is your territory?
Our territory is Berkeley Township. We cover 21 miles of shoreline and 17 lakes, 2 rivers, and 2 little streams. But we also work with the New Jersey Search and Rescue Council. So if somewhere someone's conducting a survey in the state of New Jersey and water is involved, they'll call our dive team to come and do the water survey and water search and rescue stuff.
It's amazing that this is volunteer.
100%, yeah.
And it's amazing that there is so much work to be done in 21 miles of shoreline.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Well,
does every shoreline have this type of service, this public safety dive team?
a lot of the teams, probably 90% of the teams, are either fire company based, where they have firemen who 2 or 3 of the firemen get trained to dive and are doing the rescue stuff. Some towns have some of their policemen. Our town used to have a couple of policemen that were dive certified. The biggest problem with that is when you have a specialization like that, working underwater is different than, I'll say, recreational diving. And when someone takes a recreational diving course and thinks then that they can go ahead and participate in underwater search and recovery, then you get a rude awakening. Our team is volunteer divers. Some ex-military, some ex-police, some active fire. But our primary idea is we're going underwater. We train so much that when you go underwater, you're as comfortable as you are on the ground. So when you're that comfortable diving, you can concentrate more on finding or recovery. All right. And if there's an emergency, they're trained for that. So it's a little bit more involved. A lot of people think you can just go get a PADI sport diver certification and become a rescue diver. Well, they have a rescue diver certification, but I think the training that we're doing is a little bit more involved.
What are some of the what are some of the things that lead to the transition from someone being just like a beginner diver to a search and rescue dive?
Well, the more we train a lot of physiology, so you understand exactly what's happened to your body when you're diving. We tend to spend a lot more time underwater. We go chop holes in the ice and go diving all winter long. We're involved in the polar bear plunge as safety divers there. We get involved in that kind of stuff. And basically what we do, you see scuba divers on television, Jacques Cousteau and all those guys in beautiful crystal clear water swimming along, finding junk, and look at this cool thing over here. This anemone is doing this. 99% of our diving is black water. We call it mud puppy diving.
No kidding.
Yeah, because you can't see a damn thing.
So you just got to feel around?
That's it, yeah. A lot of times you're looking for evidence on the bottom, like we recover propellers, recover anything, really. The largest thing we found was a 46-foot boat. The smallest thing the team has found was a gold chain engagement ring that fell off a lady's finger in a popular swimming place, and we went and found it. Underwater metal detectors, it's a whole different level.
Magnets and stuff?
Oh, yeah, a whole different level of diving. Because 90% of the time you're looking on the bottom, and in order to find stuff, you got to stir it up. As soon as you stir it up, you can't see. Yeah. So it's all black water diving.
Yeah. We remember I was telling you about the 295 bridge we worked underneath of. So they were doing maintenance to the to the bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and those things that shift the bridge bearings.
Okay.
You know, they have like there's a big pin underneath of them so that they can, you know, expand and contract and
Yep.
traffic. So those pins, they were replacing a couple of them. A couple of them they were just repairing and putting them back. But apparently it was like a really big item to have was those pins. And we had one in particular, and someone dropped it right off the deck, you know, right in the
Nice.
water. So we got all the iron workers, we got all of their magnets, and we made a big fishing rod, a big magnet fishing rod, man. And it was so much fun
That's cool.
trying to find a thing, and I got it.
Yeah, did you?
I
Cool.
did, yeah.
Cool.
Well, you could feel it. You know, we were
Sure.
up 40 feet, but you could still feel when you catch something.
Absolutely.
You just have to have that touch so you're not, you know, breaking apart from it. You know,
Yep.
and you're going through river rock, and you're going through, you know, all that
Yeah.
shit, the eels, you know, so-
Stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
But man, that was fun, dude. I love doing it.
We did a dive up in New York Harbor on the East River. And we were looking, in this particular one, we were looking for a vehicle. And my son is on the team as well. My son and I dropped in the water, and we found 7 vehicles. Which one do you
In
want?
black water?
Oh, yeah. Pretty much about a foot of visibility.
Now, how do you get a vehicle up?
We have these things called lift bags. It's basically a big hollow hypalon tube. Same thing, you know, those inflatable rubber boats are made out of. We attach that to the vessel, to the vehicle, whatever it might be, and inflate it until it starts to move. The smallest lift bags, like fun divers that go shoot fish, have lift bags that are 50, 100 pounds. We have lift bags that'll go 35,000 pounds.
Wow.
So in one of our drills is we float a car, but we float it a few feet off the bottom and then we push it around. Yeah, we pulled vehicles out of water. We pulled all kinds of crazy stuff out of the water.
Wow. I was imagining having like some type of a crane system off of a barge.
Well, if you
or
got a
something,
crane
you
in
know,
the
yeah.
barge, that's even better. You know, that
Yeah.
makes it real easy.
Yeah.
We picked up a houseboat, a 40-foot houseboat that had burned to the water line, and we had to employ a local dock builder with his crane on a barge, and we excavated under the boat and put straps under it, you know, with our divers, and then hooked it to the crane, and he picked it up to the water level, and then we began to pump and patch all the holes that were in it, floated it, and then brought it over to the boat ramp, and they pulled it out.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, you got to imagine that some of them vehicles in there are so like waterlocked.
oh yeah,
You know, that like it's just hard to create that kinetic energy for
Yeah.
it to even move. You
Yep.
know?
Well, what we do is, like, we just lifted not too long ago, we lifted a 46-foot boat, and we had to, it was in the mud and sunk for over 2 years. So the marina owner called our team. Our team went up with a big crew, and we jetted straps underneath of it with water and air jet pipes, and then started to lift it with the lift bags. And like you said, it was sucked into the mud. So we actually had to take the air jets and the water jets and blow the mud away from the bottom of the hole to break that suction. And then up she came.
Wow.
Yep.
That is some big work you guys are doing for free.
A lot of different junk. Well, we do it for
It's
donations.
it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, it is fascinating stuff. I'm so glad we could talk about it. But it's just unbelievable. Like I mean, that's dangerous stuff too. It's not safe work.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we're fortunate. We have right now, I think our membership is hovering somewhere around 50. We have folks from all walks. We have nurses. We have two engineers. We have 3 iron workers. We have a union electrician. So a lot of folks in their volunteer time, they come from various backgrounds. We have we have a whole environmental dive team
Yeah.
that just does the stuff. Trash, we picked up trash we cleaned out 2 lakes of all the garbage that people put in it. A lot of different stuff. And the cool part is everybody brings something to the team. Their outside experiences, you know, whether it be construction background or whatever, and everybody adds to the team, and it works out super well.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty gratifying to do that.
It is.
Stuff. Yeah.
And, you know, we're 100% self-funded, so we work on donations. That's it. You know, you want me to come and pick your dog out of the backyard, you know, or pick your boat up or move your car underwater, you know, you make a donation and we'll do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Township sponsors us with some stuff, you know, but pretty interesting.
Does marine life present any danger?
No,
Sharks?
we're not afraid of sharks.
Do they, I mean, they're there.
Sharks are more afraid of you than you are of them. Trust me. We did one particular episode where we were working with a group of scientists that were tracking fish up and down the coast, and they put basically a tag reader on the bottom of the ocean in a fixture, and it records every fish that swims by. And they're tracking striped bass and sharks and their migration routes. And we work with this scientist, and he said, okay, he brought us out to the spot, and he said, I need divers that can dive 120, 130 feet to get these fish monitors. 120 feet. 150 is a quote-unquote sport diver's limit. We dive a little bit deeper than that.
How much deeper?
My deepest is 285.
When does it get to the point where you have to isn't there something that you have to do for with the oxygen at that point, in different levels? What?
It depends on where you're diving. It depends on how long you stay. There are dive limitations where you have
What's the pressure, right?
Yeah, well, every 33 feet, the atmospheric pressure increases one time.
Okay.
So if you're down 100 feet, you got a few atmospheres of pressure on you. It changes the way oxygen and nitrogen move in your body. So you have to be real careful about how you ascend and how long you decompress. Because, you remember the old scientific tables there. Oxygen is over here and nitrogen is over there. Well, nitrogen compresses a little faster than oxygen. So it goes throughout your body a little bit more. So as you surface, as you ascend, you have to ascend at a certain speed to make sure that you're off-gassing nitrogen. Because if you trap nitrogen in your body, it could present a problem called the bends. It could be even worse, an air embolism, something like that, where you have strategic failure in your breathing apparatus inside,
What? Wow. What is the deepest a person can go?
People have, some crazy Frenchman free dove to 700 feet.
No shit.
Yeah. I think they're out of their minds, But when you go to different depths, like the guys that work commercial on the oil rigs, they're breathing a mixed gas situation where it displaces some of the nitrogen. They use helium and oxygen.
That gets super scientific.
Oh, yeah, it gets crazy, yeah. And that's called mixed gas diving. And that's really, really, saturation diving is when you stay at a certain depth for a certain amount of time. You have to spend a ton of time decompressing and getting rid of that nitrogen on your way back to the surface. Sometimes you go right directly into a dive chamber, and they bring you to pressure, and then very, very slowly bring you up from what depth you are at to surface level while you're breathing a mix of oxygen and other stuff that scientists and doctors monitor.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That is so cool.
It's pretty intricate
That's
when you get into
cool.
the details.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
That's why commercial diving and rescue diving is so much different than sport diving.
Yeah.
Sport diver limits 150 feet, and you can screw up in as little as 40 feet.
Really?
Yeah.
What can happen in 40 feet?
You can get the bends. Stay too long, come up too fast. It's that simple.
No kidding.
Yep. There's different limitations. You dive to 90 feet, you could stay for 30 minutes without decompressing on the way back up. 100 feet is 25 minutes. But we always do a safety stop at 20 feet and at 10 feet to off-gas some of this nitrogen so it doesn't build up.
Do you ever get claustrophobic?
Never.
Does anyone?
Some people that are claustrophobic can't dive because it's so intense. I've never had a problem.
Yeah, because you're trapped, right? There's nothing.
You're not trapped.
Well, you can't just come right out.
Don't panic.
Right.
If you panic, you die.
Yeah. That's wild.
That's the key.
That is wild. I can't believe it's volunteer.
It's the most unfriendly environment on the planet.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. We were just talking about, what do we say? 5% of the ocean has been, only 5% has been.
I think it was 7 or something.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Most
there's 93% untapped.
Well, you think about it. You go out into pelagic areas. I go out tuna fishing 100 miles offshore. And there's nothing whatsoever, and then all of a sudden there's a whole pot of tuna fish, and you catch tuna fish till you get tired, and then you come back, and you pass by spots in the ocean where there's nothing, there's no life whatsoever, and then you got to figure some of the stuff that we disturb, commercial clammers ripping up the bottom of the ocean, or wind farms ripping holes and doing all kinds of different stuff and pouring concrete on the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
It's and you can't imagine. I watched, when I was a kid, I watched a show called, with this guy, Mike Delson, and it was called Sea Hunt. And Lloyd Bridges starred in it and was about a retired Navy diver who went around solving all kind of criminal cases and doing dumb shit. And it was a goofy show, but it put the seed in my head when I was 8, 9 years old that I wanted to be a deep sea diver. That's
cool.
It's cool. And then watching the Jacques Cousteau stuff as a kid, it's a different world. You cannot imagine it until you've seen it. I took my wife swimming 110 feet down in Hawaii. We swam through a lava tube that was about 15, 20 feet in diameter. And the whole inside of the lava tube was covered in sea life. And it's like diving into the aquarium in your living room.
Huh.
It's incredible.
That is awesome.
It is.
It's got to be crystal clear. No black water down there.
In Hawaii, we were laying in 110 feet of water, and you could read your name on a boat.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yep, off the Big Island. Yep. Phenomenal diving there.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It really is fascinating to think, like, what the hell could be in there.
Stuff.
Yeah, stuff. That's
There's-
right, man.
Yeah, I am 100%
species?
convinced. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of these fish sensors we pulled up, we went down to the bottom, found a sensor, took the sensor off the stand, took the temperature gauge, took all the metering up, brought them up. The guy plugged the sensor into his computer. He said, wow. I said, what do you mean, wow? And he goes, exactly 17 minutes ago, a 14-foot tiger shark swam by this sensor. I said, that's cool. But what can you do?
Yeah.
If it's going to eat me, it's going to eat me.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're dangerous.
Sharks? Yeah, tiger sharks are a little crazy. Yeah.
My son's really into sharks right now.
Makos,
So
Makos are the craziest.
Really?
Absolutely insane. They will bite anything for no reason.
Okay.
Makos are nuts. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You wonder if, like, the megalodons out there, like all them
Guaranteed.
deep sea- Yeah.
Guaranteed. I will bet money there's squid out there 150 feet long. We got no idea what's down in those
No, we don't.
depths.
And they got to be smart. Like fish are smart. Like them sea creatures are smart.
Eat and swim.
Yeah.
That's it. That's their job.
Yep.
Eat and swim and make more fish.
We got to think they would eventually figure out, like, I got to stay away from these, like, little things on 2 feet.
Yeah, really.
Stay away from them boats.
Well,
Yeah.
deer and rabbits have figured it out, so
Yeah, they have.
yeah.
Yeah, that is wild, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. That's
Oh, no
really
trouble.
cool, man.
No
That
trouble.
is really cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool.
Dude, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Yeah, it was, like, awesome talking to you. I
Mm-hmm.
hope we could do it again sometime.
Yeah, no trouble.
Yeah, that was really cool, really fascinating stuff, man. It's awesome talking to you. It was awesome taking your class, and it's just, like, even better being able to interact with you like this. It's cool. Thank you.
Good. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah,
Anytime, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Good
All
deal.
right, until next time.
Yep.
Yep.